What if the most powerful object ever described in the Bible is still hidden somewhere on earth today? This wasn't a crown, a sword, or a treasure filled with gold. It was a sacred chest said to carry the presence of God Himself. According to ancient accounts, armies fled before it, rivers stopped flowing, and entire cities fell in its wake. For centuries, it stood at the center of Israel's worship and history. Then, without warning, it disappeared. No battlefield records, no confirmed discovery, no trace. For more than 2,000 years, explorers, archaeologists, kings, and religious leaders have searched for the same lost relic. Some believe it was destroyed. Others insist it is hidden in a secret location, waiting to be revealed. Today, we will follow the Ark of the Covenant from its creation in the wilderness through its extraordinary role in biblical history to the mystery of its disappearance. Along the way, we'll examine the scriptures, the historical evidence, and the theories that continue to fuel one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. To understand the Ark, you have to go back to the very beginning of the relationship between God and humanity. The book of Genesis answers how this relationship started and where the nation of Israel came from. It tells the story of the patriarchs like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but it is in the book of Exodus that the Ark truly enters the scene. After God saved Israel from slavery in Egypt, He entered into a special relationship with them. At the base of Mount Sinai, He gave Moses the instructions for how the people were to love and obey Him. Part of those instructions involved building a sacred chest. This ark was meant to hold the stone tablets of the law, which provided the basis for Jewish religious law and established the 613 commandments. The Bible tells us that this was not just a box, but a symbol of a deep covenant. Hebrews 11:1 says that faith is the substance of things hoped for and the conviction of things not seen. The ark was the visible evidence of that unseen faith. It was a golden chest topped with two winged creatures known as cherubim. This artifact represented a portable throne where the divine presence would dwell among the people. As the Israelites wandered in the wilderness for 40 years, the ark led the way. It was the foundation of their identity as a nation. They carried it with them through the desert, and it served as a constant reminder that God never stops loving His children. When it was time for the Israelites to enter the Promised Land, the ark became a weapon of spiritual warfare. Moses passed the leadership to a young man named Joshua, who had to step into very large shoes. Joshua leaned on God time and time again. In one of the most famous stories in the Bible, the Israelites reached the Jordan River while it was at its flood stage. As soon as the priests carrying the ark touched the water, the river stopped flowing and the people crossed on dry land. Soon after, the ark was carried around the city of Jericho for 7 days until the massive walls fell flat. Through these stories, you see that God will never leave or forsake His people when they lean on Him. For a long time, the ark moved through different locations in Israel. The book of Judges records a cycle where the people would turn from God and fall captive to oppressive nations. They would call out for rescue, and God would send leaders to help. Eventually, the people demanded a king. After a few disappointments, a man after God's own heart named David became the king of Israel. David was the one who finally brought the ark to the city of Jerusalem. He commissioned a great temple, though it was his son Solomon who eventually built it. This temple in Jerusalem became the permanent home for the ark, and it was placed in the innermost room called the Holy of Holies. During this golden age of the monarchy, the ark sat at the center of a kingdom that experienced great peace and prosperity. But the Bible warns that success can often lead to human weakness. There are many stories that reveal what happens when humans try to live life without God. Take the example of King Uzziah. He was one of the better kings who had a long reign full of military victories, but he started to grow proud because of his power. He decided he would enter the temple to offer incense, which was a job only for the priests. Because he disregarded the law and grew arrogant, he was cursed with leprosy for the rest of his life. This story teaches us to be on guard so that pride does not strike when we are blessed with success. On the other hand, King Hezekiah showed the power of humility. When the mighty Assyrians threatened to destroy Jerusalem, Hezekiah did not rely on his own feeble strength. He went to the temple, laid the enemy's threats before God, and humbly asked for help. Because he relied on God, his kingdom was saved. These stories show that the presence of God, represented by the ark, was a source of supernatural strength for those who walked in faith. As 1 Corinthians 16:13 says, "You must be watchful, stand firm in the faith, and be strong." The mystery of the ark's disappearance begins during the darkest chapter of Israel's history. The kings who followed Solomon often ignored God and the prophets. The prophets played a crucial role in criticizing the unethical and unjust behavior of the ruling elites. They warned that if the people did not return to the way of faithfulness, judgment was coming. Micah 6:8 reminds us that the Lord requires you to act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. But the leaders refused to listen. In 586 BCE, the Babylonian Empire under King Nebuchadnezzar laid siege to Jerusalem. The Babylonians destroyed the temple and took the southern Israelites into captivity. This is the exact point where the Ark of the Covenant vanishes. The book of 2 Chronicles records the destruction of the temple, but it does not mention what happened to the Ark. Some people believe the Babylonians took it as a trophy of war. Others suggest the priests hid it in a secret chamber or a cave before the city fell. Archaeology confirms the Babylonian captivity began around this time. Excavations in southern Judah show a pattern of destruction consistent with the biblical record. We even have the Tel Dan stele, which mentions a king of Israel and the house of David. This shows that the kings mentioned in the Bible were real historical figures. But despite all our modern tools, there is no archaeological evidence of the ark itself or the first temple from that early period. When the Israelites returned from exile and rebuilt the temple under leaders like Ezra and Nehemiah, the ark was noticeably absent. The Holy of Holies remained empty. The prophet Jeremiah spoke of a coming day when a new covenant would be made. This new covenant would not be written on stone tablets inside a box, but would be written on the hearts of the people. For Christians, this transition reached its climax in the life of Jesus Christ. The Bible teaches that the written text and the physical artifacts are important, but holiness ultimately resides in the living God they witness to. Even though the physical ark is gone, the principles it represented are still vital today. Faith refers to your beliefs and how you express them through action. James 2:17 says that faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. The ark was meant to move the people to act for justice, mercy, and love in a hurting world. Today, you are called to walk by faith and not by sight. You do not need a golden chest to experience the presence of God, because you can do all things through Christ who gives you strength. The mystery of the ark remains unsolved, but the message it carried is louder than ever. The search for the ark continues to capture the imagination of the world. Some look to Ethiopia, where ancient traditions claim it is kept in a chapel. Others continue to dig in the tunnels beneath Jerusalem. But perhaps the real insight is that the object was never the point. The object was a shadow of a greater reality. As 1 Corinthians 13:13 says, "Faith, hope, and love remain, but the greatest of these is love." If you want to dive deeper into the stories that shaped our world and find strength for your own journey, subscribe to the channel and join our community of seekers. Let us walk in truth and love together.